Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lives podcast. This is Brian, joined by my co-host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we want to talk to you about just get to the truck. That's the topic, but what we mean by that is, what is your catalyst for action? We'll explain that when we get into the show.
Yeah, before we get all the way in, we'd just like to say thank you if this is your first time checking us out. We appreciate you stopping by, and if you've been rocking with us for a while, we appreciate that. If you'd like to go deeper on this conversation, or if anything connects with you or resonates, please reach out on searching Marriage is Tougher on all social media channels, or you can go to marriageistoffer.com, which is our website where you can see our archived episodes, as well as fill out a contact form if you have any feedback, as well as want to be a guest. So again, we appreciate you. Let's hop into the show.
Yeah. So just get to the truck, man. The reason I titled it Just Get to the Truck is because I realized in this new venture for me where I am trying to be better about my health and get to the gym 4 days a week in the morning before work. Once I get to the truck, like, there's no turning back in my mind, right? Now, technically I could if I really wanted to, but once I'm there, for me at least, I'm going to go, right? And so I started putting some thought into what is going to get me to the truck, right? And what I've learned is prep work the night before, right? If my gym bag is packed, all my work clothes are in there already, right? Like my lotion and like all my stuff I need to shower and all that is all in the bag ready to go. And I don't have to pack that in the morning. You know, it makes the process in the morning a lot easier. And then even in my mind, when I first wake up and that first thought hits me, like, oh, I got to do all this stuff. I'm like, wait, no, I don't. Like, I can literally just like roll. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, all right, cool. All that friction is gone. I can just get to the truck. And then once I'm at the truck, I'm a ghost. And what I really thought about was speaking about this on the podcast, because there are a lot of things that I think I have worked on changing now, but had the opportunity to change them earlier in my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm wondering now, what is that catalyst to action that would force me mentally into some of the conversations I needed to have, or some of the changes that I needed to make, that maybe I've identified on my own or have identified in conversations with my wife, things that I wanted to change to make the quality of my children's life better. What is the catalyst when those things are hard and I know that I need to do them consistently? What is the catalyst to action? So that's where my thoughts are.
Man, you said so much, and I don't want to get sidetracked, but another example I think that goes into just getting to the truck, and it's not in the prep work, is we talked about this as meal prepping, or like
Mm-hmm.
getting from figuring out either what you're going to have first. That's like the first step. And then like, okay, what goes into making this? And if you prepped all those things, now you don't have to worry about, well, you've already come to agreement with your house, like what dinner is. So that's
Mm-hmm.
always another, that's always another battle as well. Uh, so you have all that done. You have the work done to do it. And then all it takes is the actual cooking part. And that will definitely help you um, eat at home a lot more, which is cheaper. So for those of us that are on a financial journey of getting debt free, or just want to be more strategic with your money and responsible, That can be a point. A lot of people eat their money,
Mm.
um, and that's a hard thing to get through. But also, what are something I was thinking when you said, what are some ways to help you as a person of faith? I
Mm.
know it helps me is prayer time. And it's not even like, it's not a, it is asking God for help, right? And acknowledging that He gives you strength, but it's also helping my mind wrap around exactly what needs to be done and exactly
Mm.
why, right? The importance of this thing I need to talk about with my wife. It's like, Lord, help me have patience because we need to talk about this. And then knowing that He's going to give me the strength to talk about it. And it's already like I pre talked about it before I talk about it. And I talk about it in prayer, right? So we're talking about
Yeah.
prep work. So that helps you straighten out your why, your what, and it reminds you that it needs to be done, right? Because you don't want to keep coming back saying the same prayer over and over and over, which sometimes is warranted, but in the process of like getting things done, no. Like if I need to have a conversation, I need to pray that I'm in my best place, I'm my most open for feedback, and whatever the topic is, and then pray that I actually set it up to have the conversation.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just talking about me. Um, but that's a way to help because you're actually running through, which is what we're talking about getting to the truck. Like you've already run through everything you need, checked the list to get it done. And for me, when I pray specifically about something that needs to be done, that helps my mind focus on the task at hand.
Yeah. That's good, man. Couple things. One, you were talking about, having saying the same prayer, which is sometimes warranted. I think in that space for me specifically, it might make me feel like I'm not making any progress, right? Like I'm coming back. So, maybe changing the prayer a little bit might be warranted as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then I also was thinking in the area that I struggle most, and it's starting the difficult conversations with my wife. How could I get most prepared, and what would the get to the truck moment be for me, right? And what it used to be, and this is really just fair for me to put this out there, what it used to be was she was fed up, couldn't take not talking about it anymore. Now we have to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now I'm trying to be more proactive and think of, okay, I have put some thought at least into what we need to talk about. I have formulated what my opinion is on it, and I'm not trying to just come up with that on the spot, which is largely making me unprepared for the conversation, which is why I don't want to have it, right? Um, and then, beyond that, how do I decide what the point is that is my no turnaround?
Mm.
And in this moment, I don't actually know what that is.
I was just thinking, I don't know what that is for me. I was thinking about prepping for prepping for a meeting
Mm-hmm.
and like what is my process of prepping for a meeting. Um, and I've actually implemented this within the last couple of years of actually having notes and like so on my like I use my iPad, not my phone, and so I'm not distracted by anything via the conversation, but just start taking notes on like what do I want to talk about, what are my pain points, whatever the thing is that I need to have. And I like what you said, like what's your stance on it? Not to not to overtake the conversation, but when challenged, know what you're saying. Like this is why I'm bringing this up, or this is what I think we should do.
Mm-hmm.
But still be open for obviously feedback and other perspectives. But if you go in, for me, if I go in without having a stance, I can be not swayed. but what, for lack of a better word, swayed to not the point that I wanted to bring up. And
Gotcha.
it can get
I hear what you're
lost
saying.
if I don't do that, which is one of the reasons why I do take notes. And I'm working on getting better with spontaneous conversations because I'll get lost and be like, why? What are we doing? Like, because for me,
I
if
feel that.
something makes sense, I'm more apt to just be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But like, if I have a point that I brought up a conversation, just because it's logical um, doesn't mean what I have to say doesn't matter. And my wife has
Right.
taught me that too. She's like, yeah, what I'm going to say is make sense. Like I'm an adult. Like I formulate conversations. So most of the stuff is going to make sense. So, but I still want to know what you're thinking and what you're feeling. And so the last couple of years I've been working on that.
Yeah. And I think at times when someone is good at having those conversations, right? And they are good at formulating their opinion quickly or formulating a response quickly, and it does have weight to it because it makes sense. It could make you feel like what you brought doesn't necessarily matter anymore, right? Especially when you hold that person in regard,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I feel that, and that could also be a deterrent to wanting to get into those conversations because, like, if you've convinced yourself that that's the case or that's just going to happen, then what's the point of me bringing it? Because, like, my opinion doesn't matter.
Oh, that's 100% me. Like that's basically what I'm working through right now in my life. I've never thought about that, but you articulated that so well. I'm just gonna sit right now and let you keep talking.
Gotcha.
That's so good.
No, and the only reason I could articulate that well is because I've felt that before, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of men who feel that way. Like it goes back to happy wife, happy life, right? Like she states what she wants, and like, all right, well, I'm just here to give you what you want. So maybe somewhere down the line, I'll get what I want in some tertiary form of
Yeah.
our life. I don't know, but I'm trying to put more thought also into what that space is for me where I don't turn around. And I think it goes back to preparation again. So maybe it's we've decided, right, we're going to sit at this table, have our notebooks out, talk
hmm
about budget, right? So now it's just get to the table rather than just get to the truck,
hmm
right? So I've done all my prep work. I've thought about what topics I want to bring up about the budget. I've, thought about what things I personally would like to spend on, what family goals I want to have for the budget for this month. And now I just need to get to the table because that seems the most appropriate to me in the moment. If I know if I could just get to the truck, I'm going to start it, I'm going to drive.
hmm
If I can just get to the table and I've brought all my stuff with me, I got my gym bag for this conversation,
Right.
right? I'm I'm going to work out.
Yeah, that's really good. I was trying to figure that out too. I was like, what is that moment? And it's like, oh yeah, it's the moment of starting the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost you need a like because right to the truck, you're not at the gym starting the workout. You're like, I need to
Right.
get to the truck, and like, what's the point of no return? So I like that. Just get to the table or whatever that is. But yeah, prepped it. But I liked what you said. You thought about what you're going to talk about, a couple aspects, a couple areas, and then you had, that prep work done. That's really good.
Yeah. And when you don't plan it, right? And I think this is why it relates so easily is because like I have a workout plan that I'm following, right? I paid for the subscription.
hmm
That's a piece of my accountability there built in, right? Like if I'm paying for something, I'm probably going to use it. So what's the point I was going to make? Um, you know, so if I create the plan to meet with my wife at this time on this day, like I will be beholden to that,
hmm
right? Not only will she be holding me accountable, like "Hey, you said you were going to be here, let's get this started. But if I said I was going to do something, me telling the world I'm a man of my word, I'm going to be there to have that conversation. And so I feel like that's, building up to that point, having some thought about the things you want to talk about is my getting my gym bag ready the night
Yeah.
before, right? So
Man, that's good. So far it's praying, thinking of like giving specific thought to what the topic is, and kind of rehearsing it, writing it down, um, making notes, and then setting a time for it to happen.
yeah,
Anything else?
um, I think, like you said earlier, just being prepared for feedback, or open to feedback. I don't know if
Hmm.
you can always be prepared for feedback because sometimes you might hear something that you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But being open to feedback is, I think, the most appropriate way to put that. And putting in the practice, like building the habit, building the muscle of continuing to show up, right? Because I think that's the hardest thing, especially when it's hard, right? Like some of these workouts I've been doing, I'm like, man, I gotta work now,
Yeah.
right? Like I gotta walk upstairs. Why would I do this to myself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even in the moment, not quitting, right?
Hmm.
Like you're having a hard conversation, you're having a real hard workout. You got four more, not just reps, you got four more sets to do,
Hmm.
and it's already hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
So
more
just
you do
going,
hard things, you can do hard things.
yeah,
So that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Don't negotiate with yourself, the
mm,
one that's trying to quit. And I do that to myself. I think I saw a Kobe quote talking about that. It's like, no, we don't have that conversation.
yeah, yeah. Nobody's here. Nobody's watching
Yeah.
me. No one's gonna know
Yeah.
if I don't do this last set.
Right.
It'll be fine until you're on the beach and you're like, man, that didn't work out how I wanted it to.
Right.
you know. So it's yeah, just putting in the reps, man. I think, like we always say, those conversations get easier, and obviously, like I'm still on the path
Hmm.
to get to that easy, right?
Same.
But I'm putting in the reps.
I think what that last point you made about the results, right? The sitting on the beach, it's the results of your working out, right? Or it's the
Hmm.
results of your putting in the time with your food prep, whatever. Um, there are always going to be results. So it's, do you want to get your desired results? That's what it is.
Yeah,
So you get to decide, are you going to get to the truck? Are you going to get to the table? Because once you're there, the workout starts, the conversation starts. But if you don't ever get to the truck, you're still going to have results. They're just not going to be, you're just not going to be your most fit self, right? You're not going to have the most healthy conversation space with your wife if you don't show up for these conversations. So the results will always be there. It's just which
yeah,
results do you want to deal with?
yeah. And I think a lot of people say that, oh, you're basically saying that you're good with the status quo. But what I like to say is you're either moving forward or you're moving backward,
Hmm.
right? Settling for the status quo arguably is moving backward, right? Because if you're not working out, you're not maintaining your health. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
And if you're not working on your marriage, it's probably not staying the same as the status quo. It's probably getting worse, right? If you're not communicating about things, what happens is it makes it easier not to communicate about more things.
Hmm.
And that just creates issues. And they might not expose themselves right away, but they will at some point. And I shudder to think how big of an issue that might be at the time that it either exposes or you choose to finally have a conversation with it because someone is fed up with not talking about it. So I'm just drop the mic there.
Yeah, that's good. We appreciate you all leaning into this episode. Thanks for making it through. Again, if anything resonated with you, please search Marriage is Tougher on all social media channels. You could drop a DM or a comment on anything that we have, or go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form, leave us a line there. And if you'd like to be a guest, make sure you fill out that form and we'll reach out. So thanks again for spending some time with us, and we will chat with you later.
Peace.